Hi there. Are you looking for the perfect way to kill bugs and also nearly yourself? Well, do I have a solution for you? It's fire. It's a lot of fire. And so, today, I and my lobotomized head will be going over the various options for how to best set these infested worlds ablaze and burn the enemies of democracy into a fine ash that we can use as fertilizer later on, too. Oh, what's that? You want to fight bots? Have a good time. We only talk about extermination here. And as such, let's get right into it on today's one and only episode of the Headless Helldiver. But what exactly are you getting into? Well, let me explain. Ever since the scientists at Super Earth removed my cranium, I've been able to think much clearer about how I use the flames of freedom to combat the Terminid threat. And I've decided to share that information for the good of all Helldivers. In this, I'll be going over the various equipment you can use that specifically brings heat onto the field, and some that just pair well with it all. Primarily, though, I've looked for decent synergy with the flamethrower, as that is the core of democracy's pyrotechnicians. The flamethrower. It's the heart and soul of spreading flaming freedom. This weapon is amazing for bugs, and should be the main damage dealer. The flamethrower removes groups of chaff enemies, and larger targets like brute commanders can get their heads and limbs popped off from what I can only assume is gas laws. Even chargers can be taken down, and with the enhanced combustion upgrade, they take about half a tank to kill, though this varies depending on which part of the fire hits and can be quite risky if the charger knocks you into your own fire. However, if the charger is being too annoying, or it's too risky, consider turning it into a light show. The only enemy it really struggles with is Bile Titans, though if you're brave enough, you can certainly attempt to take one down. As for the fire that kills you when fighting chargers, the flamethrower has the sticky flames overclock equipped at all times, meaning that any ground you hit gets ignited. You can use this to set up firewalls and block off choke points, allowing you to start moving and stop most of the bugs behind you. These flames are best set where you know bugs will walk, allowing for the most ignition. And for even more ignition, hold the point and watch the bugs melt before your eyes with minimal work. But my rambling doesn't stop here. Sticky flames have the hidden technique of allowing you to run long distances. By burning yourself alive, you can stim and regain stamina with ease, letting you run a marathon using the flames of the truly free as your only motivation. Overall, though, the flamethrower is an extremely incendiary weapon that comes with risks, yes, but if you respect and love these flames, they will treat you well. If you don't, it will kill you. Now for the primaries. The main thing I want to focus on here is what works well with the flamethrower, since that's a main weapon we'll be using. And unfortunately, with only one strictly fire-braced primary, I've had to branch out into a few fire-adjacent weapons that, more importantly, pair well with the flamethrower. First up, the Breaker Incendiary. Personally, I think this is the weakest pairing overall. Not to say that the Breaker Incendiary is inherently weak, but there is a lot of overlap between the purpose of the Breaker Incendiary and the Flamethrower. Essentially, it leaves gaps in the build that make you weaker overall. As for how to use it, point the shotgun in the general direction of a horde and shoot. The various pellets will most likely hit their targets and set them on fire. That's about it. Second is the Dominator. To me, this is the strongest pairing with the Flamethrower for multiple reasons. First is damage. The Dominator has excellent single target damage and can one-shot the most annoying general enemy of the bugs, the Hunter. If Hunters get too close, sure, you can stand your ground and burn them, but quickly switching to the Dominator can allow you to kill them quickly and get back to the Horde. This damage also allows you to kill Bile Spewers, and sure, the Flamethrower can kill them with sustained fire, but the Dominator can stagger them, preventing their spewing of bile. Said stagger is the second reason I believe it to be the best. Being able to stagger enemies effectively shuts them down for the duration of the stagger and is extremely useful for all enemies, but most importantly, does extremely well for killing stalkers. Without stagger, stalkers are hell, being just tanky enough to take sustained fire while approaching, and without stagger, they can easily knock you down and into a horde. However, they become trivial with it. Unfortunately, there are a few downsides to the Dominator, the most egregious of which is the handling. Moving around is slow, and the recoil is high. Now, while I personally like this since it makes the gun feel extremely chunky, it can be hard to control. Also, the bullets have travel time, and while this isn't a problem for all 30 of us who play depth, it can take some time to get used to. While more of a downgrade to the Dominator, the Scorcher is still a solid option. Really, the only reason I'd take it over the Dominator is for handling reasons. There is practically no recoil on the Scorcher, and it can move fast. However, it does have lower damage and lacks the stagger of the Dominator, which makes me less inclined to pick it. I did have some things to say about the exploding crossbow, seeing it wasn't the best, but still a fun option. But, with the recent buff to it, the exploding crossbow opens up new possibilities that I wanted to talk about. As such, I have to explain the idea behind the weapons I choose for this. To me, there's 3 keystones that the weapons have to fill. Shroud Clear, which is taken up by the flamethrower, single target, and utility. With most of the other weapons, the primary takes up the single target niche, and the grenade pistol takes up the utility niche. With this setup, you can cover your bases and have less holes in your build, and overall be more versatile in more situations. The interesting thing is that since the crossbow can now close bug holes, you can now take a single target secondary and avoid the egregious ammo issues of the grenade pistol. For reference, the grenade pistol can eat an entire resupply and not be full. With the primaries out of the way, let's get on to secondaries, which fall into one of 2 groups: grenade pistol and high single target damage. The grenade pistol is a massively useful secondary purely because of utility. Being able to close bug holes with ease and without spending grenades is very valuable. Most bug nests you don't need to enter to clear, and those you do can be cleared with ease. However, its biggest downside is ammo consumption, but with a single target primary, that shouldn't be an issue since it's not primarily used to actually kill bugs. It may seem odd to lump these 3 together, but they all fill the same sort of role. That role, as discussed with the crossbow, is single target damage. Their main benefit over a primary single target is their one-handed attribute, meaning they can be shot behind you while walking away. On top of this, their lower ammo pool isn't an issue since they won't be used as often. Also, they're pistols, and I think pistols are cool. The Senator is a good all-round pick, able to deal respectable damage in a reasonable amount of time, and you can have the rounds reload, meaning that you don't waste ammo. Plus, its medium armor penetration means you can shoot hive guards in the faceplate. The Verdict can fire faster than the Senator, and it really only gives up the medium armor penetration for better handling, too. Take it if you want to be more accurate and need a bit more burst damage. The Bushwhacker is probably the weirdest one. It offers some extreme burst damage capabilities and decent sustained fire, but the main reason I'd recommend it is the burst damage. Since you can fire all 3 shells in the gun at once, you can get some extremely high damage out of it. Alright, With secondaries out of the way, we're on to grenades. I've gone ahead and thrown smoke and thermite into the dumpster to put the actually useful grenades on a scale from Unga Bunga to Big Brain. Starting with the thinking man's grenade, the incendiary is a surprisingly versatile way of spreading burning liquid onto bugs and the surrounding ground. And while the flames don't last too long, they can do some serious work while they're up. Using it is fairly simple at first. Throw, and after the fuse time it explodes, leaving the pool of napalm. However, this lingering effect allows you to block off certain areas, and I've found that the best ways to use it is creatively. Block off choke points, chuck it into bug breaches, throw it at your feet, shore up a firewall. The limits of where you place the incendiary are entirely in your mind, and experimenting with where to put it are key to its fun factor. Next for brain usage is the stun grenade, which can stop bugs in their tracks, and, most notably, makes it extremely simple to kill chargers. One grenade and you have free reign to turn the charger into a proper bonfire. On top of this, stunned bugs can't get out of napalm, meaning that they take damage for the whole duration. Taking a quick jump to the opposite end, the Impact is an extremely reliable grenade that lends itself very well to the mindset of a caveman, freeing your brain cells for other tasks and only demanding attention when a bile spewer appears, at which point I press G and watch the problem evaporate. Jokes aside, the Impact is a simple but effective grenade that clears out a decent amount of bugs in a short period of time. Smack dab in the middle, the Impact Incendiary combines the swiftness of the regular Impact and the lingering fire of the Incendiary to make an actually solid choice. While the immediate damage is lower compared to the Impact, the added lingering flame and wider radius makes it more suited to clear out medium groups of enemies than the Impact, while still retaining most of the strategy the Incendiary has. Unfortunately, there's only two stratagems I'll be talking about here, though I would highly recommend these two for spreading a large amount of fire. The Napalm Airstrike is the resident fire stratagem. It's the one that lays down a large wall of fire, and the whole idea of it is to set up a big firewall that catches most of a horde. And while this can be done anywhere, I've found it's best to use it to block off paths for bugs and dropping it on top of the bug breach. In the right situations, the Napalm Airstrike can go absolutely insane, racking up ludicrous kill streaks and completely nullifying bug breaches and hordes. Not as exciting as the Napalm, this backpack can pair insanely well with the high ammo usage and grenade spam that you can output. Having the ability to instantly fill up ammo and give you extra grenades is invaluable in the field, and can be the deciding factor in life or death. Multiple times the extra supplies have saved my life. Sometimes, my life may have been at risk because of my fire, but that's irrelevant when I'm carrying 8 stims and grenades on my back. And there you have it. My options for spreading as much liberty as possible through the use of chemical war crimes. Before I go, I'd like to share a few small general tips on combining the weapons. First, don't be afraid to use your grenades. With the supply pack, you've got plenty to waste on bugs, and liberal application of fire is always the best option here. Second, aim for the joint of a charger's leg or abdomen with the flamethrower. If you hit heavy armor, it results in a much longer kill time. Lastly, if the next warbond is called Flaming Freedom, I called it.